Well, hello there, and welcome to Go Live. This is Gaz, your host from GameOnDaily, and we're going to have a great show. I can hear some feedback. Thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a great show. And if you're listening to us on Apple Play and Spotify, and I'm going to elongate these words for our audience.
Gaz, you heard yourself on the echo. You must know. Stop it.
Oh man, 90% of our audience is Americans. I thought maybe it'd be good for engagement. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Go Live. You know how it is. You know what the intro is. I'm not going to even say all the crap that I say at the start of every show, which is never prepared for. Thank you so much for joining us. It's not my birthday. We're going to have a great show. We're going to have an excellent show. But before we have that show, let's get the introductions out of the way. Asa, how are you?
Yeah, I was great. Like 90% of the people watching are American. Let's insult that 90% with this accent. I don't even know what that was. I'm good. I'm looking forward to it. Let's just crack on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Listen. I've just eaten because of Ramadan, and I'm very delirious. I've had my first coffee since last week. Okay, so let's do the introductions, everyone. But first, certainly not last, it is the man so nice we had to invite him twice consecutively. We've never done that. That's right. It's Welcome, Hargeet. It's always good to have you.
That was awesome.
Can you give us the Arabian Nights from Aladdin, 1991?
Can I do that?
Yes.
No, I won't do it. I'll do it. And last but certainly not least, he's not from the Arabian Nights. Everyone's gonna
this is literally the worst show I've ever been on in my life. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having Hargeet and I on here. Hargeet and I were talking like 10 minutes ago, so we're just going to continue. It's so good to be here.
Oh, yeah, man. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great time. Everyone in chat, thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna get into the topics before I let my madness. Look at all of us wearing the Sauce merch.
Yes.
Look at this.
Sauce.
Look at this. Sponsored by the Sauce. Thank you. Someone in the chat's like, F the autotune. You can't F the altitude. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an interesting week. Generally, the gaming news has been a little bit, but it's still, things are happening. Things are happening in the space that are quite interesting. Lots of issues, but mostly like positive. I know what you're thinking. Oh God, it's a Halo Infinite topic. Gaz is going to absolutely on Halo again. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because that thing has worn off. But interesting things are happening with Halo. There are big changes afoot based on some rumors and speculation, and some confirmed things this week. In big news in the Haloverse. Certain Affinity, a studio that has been working traditionally with the Halo series, is now taking a more involved role with Halo Infinite. And what that means exactly isn't entirely clear. Well, it is, but officially it hasn't been that transparent. But the big one, Battle Royale, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, something I've always said would be great for Halo, and some purists may not like it, but I think it's great news. Great news. Battle Royale is supposed to be worked on. It's codename Tatanka. I think this came from Jez Corden. And yeah, so Tatanka which I think Azorka shared a tweet earlier. It's Tatanka was a wrestling player who won the first. Colt, tell us, what is Tatanka?
I just did a video on this, and strangely, it's not a lot of people watch this video, but these rumors about Tatanka, which is the Indian word for buffalo, from Dance with Wolves, you'll learn that. But It was a 40-man battle royale from a 90s wrestler. I did a video about that. There's I'd heard rumors. I talked to Randall Thor before Jez wrote this article that there was a last Spartan standing version of a battle royale that was definitely in the works. Also, they're saying that Certain Affinity didn't just partner up with Halo Infinite. They've been working on all the other Halos, obviously. They show it in their sizzle trailer in my video. But they've been working for a year or more with Halo Infinite, and now they finally announced that they've been working on getting more content for Halo. So this Battle Royale thing, like you said, is probably real, and it's been planned for 2 years, and they're trying to get it ready for one of the seasons. And it's a big major thing that's coming, I think, whether we like it or not, but I think it's going to invigorate Halo because it's missing so much content at launch.
Yeah, that's a positive take. Invigorating Halo. I did watch your Halo video. Really good video. Watch it. But Halo fans.
Yeah, I got 2 views. You watched it and I watched it.
Halo fans don't watch Halo content as much as they like to defend.
I think before you take off, I think the Halo fans are so passionate and they're so firmly rooted in what they believe the game should have or be or whatever. And I think lately they've been yelling at 343 because Frank O'Connor talked about. Let's talk about that little bit in a little bit. Remind me to talk about what Frank O'Connor said. But they also feel that they sort of turn a blind eye to some of the criticism from within the community, but then they turn around and yell at 343. And we've kind of been doing both of that. You know, you and I, Gaz, as we criticize, you know, we kind of like say, hey, 343, what the heck? And then you deal with the fans around you that are also fans. So it's been crazy. We'll get into that.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to.
What are you eating?
Hop on This stream is sponsored by Pocky. I'm going to spat that out. We're not sponsored by Pocky, but I went to a Chinese wholesaler. I bought loads of noodles and this thing. It's amazing. It's like crap. Yeah, so we're not going to hop on about Halo, but I think this is a positive thing. I'm actually really excited about Battle Royale. I always said it. See, you know who you are. You had a go at Dr. Disrespect for saying if Halo Infinite doesn't have Battle Royale, it will be irrelevant after 3 weeks from launch. And it was near enough. Dr. Disrespect was right. I know it's not strictly speaking because of the Battle Royale, but lack of content. But it is he was absolutely right there. I didn't say anything because I was watching that. I think he's right, but I didn't say anything. I should have said something, but I thought at that point everyone hated me anyway with anything regarding Halo. But Hargeet, you and I have been on the same, train with Halo. But as far as Halo's, well, isn't it a bit? Is it concerning, or is it a good thing that Certain Affinity have come on board? Because some people say, hey, look, The Last of Us. They had loads of external studios coming in, so why can't 343, that is obviously struggling with Halo Infinite, get the help of Certain Affinity that has traditionally helped 343 and other studios?
Yeah, and Call of Duty, right? So those are the big ones that they've done, and Microsoft owns both. It also sounds like a good studio for them to just pick up as a support studio.
Yeah,
though I think there was something with Leyu or something like that where they were potentially buying them. Anyways, back to the Halo part. Look, I don't like piling on developers because I understand development and it can just suck. So I know they're trying their best, and what was it, like 3,000 people, something ridiculous, worked on Last of Us 2, and the actual core team is nothing that big, right? But that's the way it is. That's AAA development. That's why we call it AAAs, because massive amounts of people have to work on it. The core development team is back, and now they have to kind of figure out how to handle a lot of work that was being done by other people. So I think this is great. Like, just hand off parts of it. There's still so much to do, right? So we still don't have Forge. We don't have co-op. They're looking at maps. It's a whole new premium mode, then maybe that is a good thing to just hand off to somebody. Hey, take this piece and just run with it. You already helped on the core game. Why not just like add this piece for it? I think it's a great thing. Like I don't see a big deal there. The synergies seem interesting in that organic growth mode. It does seem like a good target. However, I think they might already be acquired by Leiyu, who's acquired by Tencent. So I don't know where that sits. So because I think they had a plan they bought like 20% in 2017 or something like that, and then they were supposedly going to finish buying all of it by 2021. So I don't know if that finished or not. So if it did, then they're probably owned by Tencent at this point. But it is a very synergistic company for Xbox to look at, especially with the Call of Duty help and the Halo, the 343 help. It would be an interesting place to go. But I like the idea of adding modes. I don't see the issue with that. Like Battle Royale is absolutely not needed, but it's good. What the heck, right? If people want to, play that way, why not? Give them the option. I'm all for it. What I don't like was no co-op. God damn it, that should have been there from day one. So I would have rather they just delayed it and had co-op. That game to me is not a co-op game because it didn't come out with co-op, and I've already played it. So.
No, fair enough. I may be lagging here because everything just froze for a sec. Asa, what are your thoughts on Certain Affinity?
I don't have any at all, really. So my thoughts on Battle Royale are that's not my thing. I don't think Battle Royale is obviously massively popular at the moment. I appreciate loads of people want it. For me, it's not a good time played to fun had ratio in those games. So Halo can have it or it can not, and I don't really mind. Good for the people that are there. I'm kind of hoping so what has been said about Certain Affinity in this Tatanka is that it's supposed to be a mode that is a bit more approachable than the multiplayer currently is. So for people that aren't into the more intense competition of the arena and the big team battle that's there now, I'm not sure that does describe Battle Royale. It doesn't mean it's not what they're making. Battle Royale is obviously approachable if you look at the numbers for things like Fortnite. So maybe that's exactly what they're doing. Personally, I would rather see something a little left field, something more along the lines of like an evolution of the Warzone mode that they had in Halo 5 or something like that. But
yes,
it's not for me, so we'll see.
Yeah, see, I know what you mean when you say an evolution of Warzone. I think I was talking to Colt about this the other day about Warzone, and I was kind of surprised at how many people didn't really take issue with the fact that there wasn't something as fresh as Warzone in Halo Infinite. When Halo 5 came out, it's heralded as one of the best multiplayer playing Halo games, and I think Warzone was a big part of that because it really kind of Halo is screaming for Battle Royale, in my opinion. So I take your view on board. I do think, though, that a massive Battle Royale, even a 40-man Battle Royale, will be an excellent addition to Halo. I think it kind of realizes the scope of it. Ever since you played Halo CE, Halo CE looks like a small map now, which is quite funny because back then Blood Gulch was a huge map because loads of vehicles and there was lots of modding happening in the PC space with it. But with Battle Royale, it's just Halo's made for it. It's made for traversing through a myriad of vehicles, from Warthogs to Pelicans. You could have ODST drops. We've talked about this before, and I really think that this could be great. It's interesting, though, that a lot of people have saw on social media, they were looking at Certain Affinity as now the beacon of hope as opposed to 343, and there was some meme going of a Simpson meme, guy slapping a little kid in the head, and the little kid was 343 and the big one was Certain Affinity. And I don't know anything really substantive about Certain Affinity, so I don't want to overstate their importance in it. But one of the things I did see is, one, genuinely lots of positive positive reception to this, but which is more than I can say for something that Colt shared, which is, Hargeet Chani just dropped a global key for bloody Tiny Tina. What? You're crazy, Hargeet. Very generous of you. Whoever gets that, let us know who got that code. That's Hargeet for you, man. The most generous community member on this planet. The third person, Colt, a lot of you shared it and you had a lot of pushback on this. I don't know why. An optional someone on the PC community modded and got a third person mode in there, and it can't be relatively speaking that hard to do because the animations more or less are there. But Colt Eastwood, the innocent young chap, shared screenshots out or the video out or whatever, and he said, "This is so cool. How cool would this be as an optional mode in your single player co-op campaign?" And that got a lot of pushback.
People freaked out. Like, they really got mad. They're like, no. And they were gatekeeping, like literally gatekeeping, like, no, you cannot. And I said, and my tweet was like, not in competitive, not in on any of the online features, but only if you're playing online or playing by yourself, to bring the camera back and forth from third person at will. And they're like, why would 343 do that when they need to get the rest of the game finished? I'm like, they don't have to do anything. It's literally a variable they have to change, because when, thank you so much for putting this up, Asa. Literally, I sound like one of my kids. Literally, when Master Chief picks up a turret or goes into the super punch, like the camera comes out, you could carry around a turret and you could beat the whole game in third person holding a turret if it didn't run out of ammo. So all the animations are there. And if you play the game in co-op, which we can't yet, your partner has full animation in mantle, jumping, grapple shot, shooting, reloading, sliding. It's all there. And you'll see in these clips, like, this guy's like, oh, this is like a professional player, he's making it look good. It's like, no, you give me this camera mode, I could give you a bunch of footage like this so easily, because the game, I can tell, because you know when you play games so much, I can tell if I had my hands on those controls right there, that that I would be able to do a lot of that, and I would really enjoy it. And the Halo fans, like I was talking about earlier, are so passionate that they do. I really feel like sometimes they hold back the evolution of Halo. We don't want sprint. We don't want aim down sights. You know, I wonder if they freaked out when you were dual wielding. Like, I feel sorry for 343 sometimes in that aspect, where they want to push the game forward. They push forward with the grappling hook. I remember how they were mad about the grappling hook. So you just have to let this team do it, because 343's one of their problems, besides not getting enough content right now, is a problem that no one can see, and they're literally fighting against their own fan base, trying to make the modernize the game and make it great. And I think with what they did in 4 and 5, the combat, and Infinite, I think Infinite, and let me say one more thing, I think Halo Infinite's combat is the best in the series. The feel, the gun. Yeah, and 100%. I feel like 343 has been waiting for a decade to elevate this game, and they listen to their fans so much that maybe they can't elevate it and evolve it the way that maybe it should be. But we should talk about what Frank O'Connor said on their Facebook forum, because they're really frustrated, and for good reason, on both sides. The fans are definitely frustrated, and so are the teams. But he says, for you to say that we're not listening is completely incorrect. Like, we're listening to everything, but they're also getting a barrage of insults, swear words, death threats, and they're filtering through, trying to find the constructive criticism. And he says, my teams are all working on all of those things you're asking for. They're finding ways to implement them and find out what is most being asked for. And he says, we're all doing it. It just takes forever. And they said, I know you're tired of hearing the words. We're working on it, but that's just like really how it is. I'm so glad they're bringing on contractors. They need the help desperately.
Yeah, I mean, the contractors was part of the problem, though, wasn't it, Hargeet? Because if the Jason Schreier articles to be believed, like 40% of, or 48% of the workforce was contracted out, and Microsoft has an aversion for extending those contracts beyond, I think, 2 years or something like that.
12 months, I think.
12 months? Is it 12 months?
Like
oh wow!
Yeah.
So what's your take on the Halo community being, and I see some opposing views in chat, Halo community being very close-minded, and 343 being in a terrible position of trying to appease.
Look, ultimately they own it, right? They can do what they want. So 343 owns this IP right now. They can do what they like with it. I hate to say it's gatekeeping. I don't think it is. I think people are passionate. That's fine. And let them be passionate. But look, once it comes out, as long as the choice is there, and I wouldn't put it in competitive. I wouldn't do something like that because that might change.
Correct.
It might change the game a bit. But if it's just for like campaign co-op or campaign, why not? Like, if somebody prefers one mode over the other, give them the option. As long as, again, it is fair to say they have a lot to put in, and maybe that isn't the most important piece. I get that, fair enough. But if they have the ability to pull it off, I mean, a lot of the mechanics are there. The things that you have to worry about is to make sure the camera works in weird situations, what happens when you go into cutscenes, stuff like that. Fair enough, right? They'll work that out. But, as long as it's not a huge amount of effort and they can actually still get the other stuff done, right? I would still prioritize co-op well above third person, right?
This is on the bottom of the pecking order of things they need to sort out.
But if it's something they have time to do, why not? I don't see an issue with it. Like, if people prefer the third person, why? I don't have an issue with that. As you said, it's already there, right? In certain modes, you're already doing it. It's already,
you make a really good point, Hargeet. I got to shoehorn in real quick. You make a perfect point that I didn't think about, because I can't think of everything when I think of this my great idea, right? Hargeet makes a good point. When you're in a cutscene, you're looking at Master Chief from different angles, and the camera swings around to basically your hands and chest to see your gun. So they would have to modify the cutscenes to swing around and go and stay in third person, and that might take way more time than the toggle on and off. So go ahead, Hargeet.
No, those are exactly the kind of things, right? And it's not a huge deal. It's really, you just have to painstakingly go through that, right? Every scene that they have, make sure it comes out correct, it looks good, right? So again, it can all be done. It's probably like a 6-month project to get it to work right. But again, I would prioritize a few other things before that. But again, this is something people want, and everybody wants that third person game, right? Why not? Let's give it to them. That's fine. But there are things I would prioritize above it. One of the other things I'm surprised by is, look, it's great to have new maps that are coming in that are brand new, but Halo has this history of fantastic maps from Halo 1, 2, 3, Reach. Why aren't those being put together? I mean, I'm sure there's work involved, but like, they have them. Right? Why couldn't they take some of like those key awesome maps, big team, arena, and start throwing them in? Let's get those Halo 1, Halo 2 classic awesome maps.
That would really help. Like, and they could just say, "Hey, look, we're building these in the Halo Infinite version because we want to give you more content because we're working on brand new content. But here's classic maps to bolster." Oh, that's a great idea. We got to ask Asa though. Asa, what's the probability of taking the old engine Halo 5 maps and bringing them into slip space?
I know they definitely could, but I want to talk about the third person thing because there's a massive opportunity with it. You can see the Master Chief's hat, his shoulders, his ass. It's all prime advertising space. Sell it.
Bro, that's exactly what I was about to say. Asa's right.
You can see the mods on the PC side already.
Please don't give them idea. Oh, this probably already exists. But no, see, I was thinking that. Can you imagine? See, a lot of people, when the co-op was delayed, people were like, hey, imagine they bring out the ability to, for the other 3 players, because they don't want them to be Master Chief, they can have your Spartan, your multiplayer Spartan imported into it. And having a third-person mode would really help, because you can actually finally see your character. So you can see all your modifications, and I would definitely play in third person if I could see a lot of my character stuff.
How is that going to work, Gaz, with, like, if I host a 4-player co-op session with you and Dealer and Hargeet, right? Is it going to be 4 Master Chiefs, or are they going to go the route they did with Halo 5 where you have to pick a character? Like, because if you're saying you could bring in that the host is Master Chief and the other 3 people are your multiplayer character, is that the plan? Because you actually find the armor in the world. You find the armor piece for multiplayer in the single player world. So is that part of the plan for you to bring in your multiplayer? Because you and I bought that cool shiny black and matte black mixed $10 armor, right? Like, would you get to come in and play alongside me with that?
This is kind of funny though, because the primary reason that games like Fortnite are third person is because they want to sell those skins, and now you're like asking for this corporate behavior. Like, please let us spend money on these customizations so that we can see them in co-op. Now suddenly, like at the start of this conversation,
we're spending them anyway.
Start of this conversation, I was like, sure, I'm totally in favour of having an optional third person. Why not? But now you're coming along like, oh, I'm going to spend so much money on cat ears and bad
we did
fire.
Not say that.
Like, yeah, you did. And now I'm thinking, no, keep that crap away from Halo. Start selling the multiplayer. None of this free to play nonsense. Damn it.
Yeah.
No.
I love seeing Ace passionate. I love it.
It's good. It's good to see Ace. He's a human. But the point about a lot of people gatekeep with the don't have that. But you didn't kick a fuss about cat ears and weird halos and silly things in there. And then you've got Halo has a history of balmy things because of forges, created loads of weird modes, and you've had the modding community its hand on it, and then you've got skulls in the game do all sorts of weird stuff in Halo single player. So get a skull. If it was a skull to activate third person, no one would complain. Rand L. Oh, sorry. Randall Thor, how you did, Rand? Looking sexy without your beard, which normally I wouldn't propose cutting your beard, but Rand looks nice without it. But yeah, so it's just funny seeing that. It's funny seeing people like, oh no, don't touch it. No, you don't need it. It's an optional mode. Like, okay, I get it. Sometimes options can, if it takes away from the spirit of the game, but it's an optional mode in a single player component that you're playing co-op. What's the big deal? It's not going to harm your experience for it.
But people have told me, I had so many people try to start an argument with me and I wasn't having it, where they were saying, it's a first person game. You want third person? Go play Gears. That's why I have Gears. It's like, what the heck? Like, this could be something really neat. Like, I don't know if...
Just don't play it. Don't play it.
Don't use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... Is it really fundamentally going to be detrimental to the game? It's not like there was like a changing the Elden Ring whole mantra and gameplay mode to be easy, or having a mode there. This is very different. So I don't understand. I think it's good. I think the Battle Royale, I'm really excited. BB, I think in chat you were saying, hey, Gaz, are you going to be excited for Battle Royale? Hell yeah. I'm a Battle Royale slut. I'm the biggest slut when it comes to Battle Royale. I love Battle Royale. Asa says, it's slow and then there's a lot of, inefficient on time. And I agree with you. Like, depends on if you're a noob and you just stay away from firefights. But if you're like me and you go straight in the action, it's a great game, great game mode. And I think Halo will do well if it's done well. I will tell you this: Apex Legends, I'll tell you how amazing Respawn are. If you cast your mind back, they didn't even announce Apex Legends. It just got released the next day. And it shocked me at how it reminded me of Overwatch, how well designed the systems were from everything. If you think back, they didn't even announce it. They shadow dropped Apex Legends. They shadow dropped it like it was nothing. And it is such a good game. It's such a good game. It feels like it is a standalone game. R343 or is their equivalent of a battle royale going to come close? Because ultimately, in my view, Halo has the scope to shatter every battle royale out there. That's how good the potential is. But will it even come close to Apex Legends? I know I have a bias for that game, but really, that's going to be my metric for success. Let me catch up on these super chats. RRD, thank you so much for the $2 Canadian. Tell them how to properly say your name, Hargeet. I'm saying it right, Hargeet.
No, this is from Miles' show. Miles always seems to mispronounce it. He finally figured it out, though. He figured it out today.
What was he saying? Hargeet?
Hargeet, yeah, instead of Hargeet.
Miles, you piece of...
No, he fixed it today. He fixed it today.
Fine. Miles, I'll forgive you. Neil B, thank you for being a member. Welcome. Oh, wait, you just become... You're renewed, your members. Hi, Asa. I can see you wince in the corner. But Neil B, thank you for joining the GameOnDaily Elite and for becoming a member. I see you, Neil. I see your support. I see your nice comments. You're a very lovely chap. Thank you again for supporting us. Draw TJ, you have dropped so many super chats. If I could use this money for Apex Legends, that would be great, but I can't. Draw TJ, thank you so much for the $5 because happy... I didn't even... Thank you. I'm doing very well, Draw TJ. And thank you for the $10 super chat, because they need to do an update when you press the back button and it changes from third person to first person. It reminds me of the game mode where in not much Halo Anniversary, you could switch between the graphics. That's a good point. Just switch between modes. Like, I'm sure there's lots of button mapping things they can do. Another super chat, another $10 super chat, because 343 need to do what Elder Scrolls does, and then they can put it in its own mode on multiplayer, third person Slayer and third person SWAT. Why not? Why not? Because remember Modern Warfare 2? Modern Warfare 2 had its own playlist for a third. Hardly anyone used it, but there was a third person playlist there. It didn't do any harm to.
There was.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2 had an optional. There was a game mode.
But Call of Duty is a first-person shooter. How can you ruin the? Yeah, I heard a lot of that. I really heard a lot of it. I don't know why you'd want to, but I also said in my video that if they did this battle royale, it would be great if there was a lobby where everyone was in third person, so you could see your gear or whatever you were putting on or whatever you were holding. And so everyone was all in third person, so there wasn't any type of disadvantage or advantage. Yeah. But when you talk about battle royale, like they can't just like throw it together and say, here's the fundamentals of a battle royale. They have to do like what you guys said. You have to come in a drop pod, and there has to be all of the different weapons and all the different gear, and of course all of the. It's so. Rand's in the chat, and we were kind of like workshopping the idea of what it could be, and we talked about a mix of the Warzone, not Warzone Call of Duty, but Warzone from Halo 5, where you drop in and it's all the Spartans, but all the Covenant and Prometheans are on the battlefield as well. So we were kind of workshopping, or maybe he was. I'm not sure if Rand was hearing whispers about that the ground would be littered with other enemies besides the 40 players or however many players are in this last Spartan standing mode. If there's Covenant or Banished that are also dropping in there that you can kill along the way while you're watching out for real people, but like that could really ramp up what a battle royale is. With it's one of the things people really liked with Titanfall. When you drop in, there's the 5 or 6 real humans, and then there was all the bots running around you could shoot as well to kind of crank up the action. So
so
it could be really good. You have to do more.
Yeah. No,
and let me say one more thing. I gotta say one more thing, and we see this with 343 a lot. Like the game comes out and they're like, all right, is it good enough? Make sure it's good enough. Make sure it works. Like 343 needs to shoot for above and beyond. And if they're bringing in people like Certain Affinity, who's a really great team from Texas, who's worked with massive games like the Call of Duty franchise, and they've done a bunch of stuff for Halo, like 343 really should be targeting above and beyond everyone's expectations. And then wherever they land will be really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the problem I've had with 343. They don't seem to aim for the stars. But hopefully they do so that. Miles in chat.
Hi, Miles.
Miles, say Hargeet's name properly. Shout out to him in the chat. No, so I agree with you. Can you imagine? We talked about this before a long time ago. Imagine, like, you have the zone closing in, but you could have the flood closing in the map and then that's the circle, and then you get infected, and then the old players become infected Spartans, and there's so much scope there. Obviously that would break law, I guess, unless they bring back the flood, which they might do, but the endless are basically the flood. But yeah, there's lots of potential there. If they do it properly, my measuring stick will be Apex Legends, because I want to see 343 actually shoot for the stars and not just do a competent battle royale, but a great one. Shout out to 230 people watching. Smash that like button if you're enjoying the show. Please smash that like button. It helps us. Draw TJ, thank you so much for the $10 super check. Another one, because Hargeet, they said they can't do those legacy maps because they weren't designed in mind with that grappling hook and climbing. I mean, I don't see like Zanzibar, Blood Gulch. I can't see problems with those.
No, they can mantle. I mean, I'm sure that the geometry of those edges are. There may not be as many mantling points, but I think that could work. It's just contextual mantling.
Yeah, and as far as the grappling hook, of course, it's a pickup, right? You can just not have it in the map.
Actually, great point. Just don't have that as an optional point.
And maybe in the future they find a way to make it work, right? So
Absolutely, you can just Halo. You can, if you play the ranked slay mode, obviously no camera. It's very similar, just clamor. It's not like Halo 5 that had a lot of the rocket boost and a lot of different movement mechanics. It's quite conservative in terms of the comparison with the legacy Halo games. So yeah, they can make it work. I think they can. But yeah, great point. The grappling hook is so good in this game. I sometimes forget that it's not even a base player ability. It's actually a pickup. Drawn TJ, thank you again. Drawn TJ, thank you.
Trying
thank
to take
you
over
so
from
much.
me.
Yeah, exactly. You're the new Hargeet. What's going on? Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare 2 has a third-person mode for multiplayer, and I remember playing it. I mean, it wasn't that good, but it certainly didn't look as impressive as what the chap who created this mod shown off. There's lots of potential there. The animations are already there. What surprised me was how good it looked. Like so many animations. Like it doesn't seem like there's going to be an awful lot of work there. You could get a couple of people to just work on this extra.
That's what I think. We got to ask Asa though. Asa, what do you think about? Rand wants to hear you pipe up because he loves you. But what do you think about like what kind of work or how many people do you think it takes to get a third-person camera toggle like totally vetted out for Halo?
Yeah, definitely some. Definitely longer than people would anticipate. So this modder has got it working very, very quickly. Like Hargeet said earlier, 343 would have to go through every scenario. Does it work in this enclosed space? Are there troubles when there are crates there? Like, does the camera still work here and here and here? But yeah, it wouldn't take that long if they wanted to. And like I say, advertising space. Do it.
Yeah. Shout out to Yodani Cruzada. It's actually his birthday. Happy birthday. Well, so bloody auto-tune. So, shout out to Yodani. He's enjoying himself in the escape room. Well done. I've done one of those. I was terrible at it. Last super chat. Oh no, there are more coming in. Thank you so much. Flame for the $5 super chat. I love you, Flame. If Apex Legend in 1 month had 50 million players, 6 months in, Halo Infinite barely has half that. I don't know what the numbers are. Let it die.
20.
Happy birthday, GameOnDaily. No, Flame, you can't let Halo die. Come on, man. This is why I care about it so much.
No, wait. 25 million is dying. I think that's fantastic. Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, I don't know what the numbers are. Those aren't active players. They hit that peak. They're very quick. One thing I will say, a lot of people
Apex
said,
didn't have 50 million in a month, did it?
I don't know, 6 months, he said, or something like that. I don't know what it is.
It wasn't like concurrent, though.
But it,
I'll find
concurrent, yeah. Not concurrent, but
when did it launch?
Apex is also on a lot of platforms, so
I know it was
Yeah.
let's also keep that in
2018.
mind.
that's also true. It's a
No, it does. It says in the first month, Apex Legend hit 50 million players.
Holy shiznats, and well deserved. And the
Yeah,
game
well
didn't even
deserved.
get marketing. It launched. It just dropped.
Yep.
It's such Apex Legends. In my opinion, Apex Legends shits on Halo, but that's a different point entirely. I still think Halo Infinite is a potential to be incredible. Don't let it die. Don't let it die. Dub with a $20 super chat, man. Very generous. It's really hyped to see what Certain Affinity bring to the table with their project in the works. With all their prior experience working on Halo and COD, I think BR mode is in good hands. I don't know much about Certain Affinity other than what I saw in your video, Colt. But yeah, Dub is hyped about. I'm hyped about it too. I will say that the delayed Halo thing is gone now. I am pissed at the state it's in, but they are working hard. I 100% believe they're working hard on the game, like really breaking their back. 343 and Certain Affinity. It's just annoying that my flagship, my favorite series has become what it has. But in the long run, it could be incredible. Battle Royale will inject masses of hype into Halo.
Yeah,
It's going to be
Gaz,
big.
The map is too boring. It'd be like, oh, where shall we drop? Grass and trees? Grass and trees. Grass
Are you referring
and
to
trees.
my biomes?
If they do
Well, but I mean,
Yeah.
we know that's going to change over time. Like, it's going to be a while, but let's say about like 3 years from now, you should hopefully have half the ring available to you, and it will definitely have different biomes, right? So I don't like that's going to get better over time. We know it is, but some of the things we were reading from the chat, like apparently there were a lot of things in the air, and then suddenly it had to come down to putting something in, and they had to drop a lot, right? So that's disappointing, right? But if that's the case, that's probably why we have such little content right now.
But that's why you said delay Halo. But I think Abe, One Bad Mother in the chat said that, right? And he knows Halo.
And what that really shows, I mean, not to interrupt, but is leadership. That is a lack of leadership. If you have all these things in the air and nobody's saying, great, these 10 right now, we'll get to the rest later, that's bad leadership. That should have been done.
I mean, the
you were
leadership
right.
was so... Sorry.
You were right, guys. Like, they could have delayed it again, and they should have. And Joseph Staten had to come in and, like Hargeet saying, and say, look, I'm here to make sure that we get this thing off the ground. What has to be cut so that we can go? And that's what they did. They cut Forge. And another thing I tried to drive home in my video, I really wish that video would have kind of gone further for more people, because there were some really good points that need to be made. If it launched with Forge, the community would have been so active and building and creating content to play online that is not even accessible. That's not even being added in.
That's a
Where
great
you're getting
point.
modders on the PC who build a third-person mode. Like, I'm sure they're trying to mod in some stuff that they can do that only a certain amount of people can play if you put the mods in. But you have this 343 has this thing called Forge where you can build custom maps and custom scenarios and game modes, and they don't even have that ready for the community, let alone for their own team to have time to make enough content to keep the game alive. So I tried to find the chart. I tried to find the bar graph chart that someone shared a month or two ago. I couldn't find it to put in my video, but it showed across the board Halo Combat Evolved had this much content, Halo 2 had this much online, then Halo 3 had this much, and then when you got back to Halo Infinite, it was like way down here where Combat Evolved was for launch content. They're talking about modes and maps, and they cut so much just to hit that 20th anniversary, which I don't care about the 20th anniversary. I just wanted the game to come out its best.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. And a lot of people said, like, that wasn't a big thing. Forge can be delayed. In fact, I thought co-op was more fundamental than Forge, but if Forge had released, big problem would have been resolved, which is content, because Forge is a very powerful tool. But we are where we are, so let's see what happens. Drawn TJ for the $5 super chat. Again, I would say 100 people if they want it done in 4 months. I would say 100 people if they wanted to, as in how many people should be working on the game, the Battle Royale. Draw TJ again with a $10 super chat. Beyond Halo, everything Colt said, add vehicles, add bases on the rings, and it evolves. Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of scope for Battle Royale Halos. I'm excited. That's when I think I'll really dive in, other than these 2 maps that are coming, which Asa put up on screen. We've got these 2 maps. They look nice, but legacy maps need to be there. But Catalyst and Breaker were the 2 new maps. So that's Halo Infinite. That's Battle Royale. And generally looking forward to see what Certain Affinity do with the game. Just very briefly touching on this, I'll be keeping a keen eye on this, especially talking to the Xbox era chaps. And Xbox Series X and S was the UK's top-selling console in March. That's a big deal in the UK. I mean, US and UK are the 2 primary territories where Xbox really needs to really reclaim. At one point, Xbox in the 360 days had it really good in the UK. But this could be a shifting tide to the point where I actually wonder how competitive Xbox is versus PlayStation in worldwide sales. Hargeet, would it be crazy for me to suggest that with all the stock shortage problems with PlayStation and that problem not existing comparatively with Xbox, could there be a chance that Xbox catches up in worldwide hardware sales?
Yeah, it's very likely, actually. I think Sony's come out and said that, right? That they will have stock issues this whole year. And if Microsoft is able to keep up, it's not going to be totally available. But we had a whole couple of weeks where you could just buy it. You could just go to Walmart and pick it up. It was at Amazon for a while. So that's insane, right? So it's already kind of meeting. It's not available. I don't know if it's available today, but it is spotty. But it has been it was on for a few weeks straight. So if they have that level of supply and they continue, Yeah, they could absolutely catch up. And if that happens, well, that's it's a market shift. It's an interesting one, right? Right now, you still have to remember Nintendo keeps winning, and we just ignore them.
Yeah, forget Nintendo.
Forget Nintendo, even though they keep winning. And we don't know when they're going to drop their bombshell of a next-gen console, which will probably have the same level of sales that we just keep forgetting about. But if they are a good contender, then that will be the interesting duopoly. Is it Sony and Nintendo? Is it Nintendo and Microsoft taking as the market leaders? But I don't see Nintendo not being a market leader. I think that's going to continue. But yeah, that's an interesting shift. Where it becomes interesting is for third parties. And if Nintendo's console is competitive to at least a Series S or higher, then all the third parties can go anywhere. So now you might see some of these exclusives that go Sony's way. They might go Nintendo's way, right? Because they might say, hey, well, Nintendo just keeps selling. I'm just going to get into that platform because they're just huge. And despite people not caring about Nintendo, there's enough of them out there. And if people start, buying on that, that might become a huge platform. And so we have to kind of look at that as well. But from a Sony and Microsoft perspective, this is an interesting shift back to where it was kind of in the 360, even though the PS3 did end up beating the Xbox 360. Yeah. It didn't matter. The 360 had the momentum. And so every developer was like, yeah, I kind of have to look at the 360 as a platform. You had a lot more Japanese support back then because there was just no way around it. It was a massive deal. You couldn't just say no. I think the PS3 caught up because of other markets. In the US, it was a pretty sizable lead. So you have to just take that into account. And if that happens again, and it looks like it will, right? Because again, even with the PS4 versus Xbox One, it was off by a few million. PS4 in the US. So if that flips and it becomes like a 5 million, 10 million lead the other way, you can't ignore that market. So it's going to start shifting that development focus. You're already seeing a lot of these Japanese titles to come to Xbox, and they're going into Game Pass. That's another thing that's big. So this is an interesting shift. I think it also won Europe, didn't it? I think it beat out.
I don't know.
In Europe. Not in Asia, though. I think in Asia it was definitely PlayStation.
Asia's going to be a tough nut to crack from Xbox. If they do, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's up to them. If they have enough availability of consoles, they certainly could sell them out there. They have to market it. They have to get out there, right? And make the pitch and make it so that people want to buy it in those territories. So
VG Charts has to guesstimate the sales, but they announced 5 hours ago that the Series S and X are at 13.9 million sold. And at this time in 17 months, the Xbox One was at 11.5 million. So they're doing a little better. But Hargeet and I talked about this a lot, about how the very first year, we're like a year and 4 months into the console generation. And for the first year, they put a lot of Series X chips into the data centers around 27 different countries where they have cloud gaming for xCloud. You Pockies eating little dude, I can hear it as I'm looking at the numbers. So that was the reason why we never saw Series X available the whole year, and now we saw them for like a month. Like Hargeet said, like on Amazon, you could get one for about a week, and on Walmart for a little over a week, you could get one. Now they're sold out everywhere I looked while Hargeet was talking about this. It is an interesting situation with the chips, but those Series X's a lot of them went to millions probably, but millions and millions went to the data centers, I would assume. We'll never know.
Yeah. I've turned my fan on because it's actually finally warm in the UK. Can you tell me if it's making noise, Asa, please?
I can tell everybody that we had a conversation last week. So Gaz has a PC that's capable of filtering out all of that background noise, and he tested it and it worked perfectly, and his audio was sounding great. With the one downside being that he couldn't use his auto-tune at the same time as fixing all of his audio. So you get background noise and auto-tune, or you get no auto-tune and better sound. Them's the choices, and Gaz has chosen to sing it.
Chosen auto-tune all day, every day. I've turned it on. Unless someone becomes a member, then I'll have to just, whatever. But it's on, so you should be very clear. Asa, I do think, and this is going to be a bit of a take, just talking to Nick and John from Xbox Era as well on this point, and some stuff like milling in the background. Those numbers momentum is key, and Hargeet made a great point in comparison with the 360 days, dev focus shifting to 360 because of the numbers. I wouldn't actually be surprised if Xbox could actually one day announce that it's neck and neck with PlayStation on sales. What I know, hardware, like typically Xbox guys always say, "Oh, sales don't matter," and now that the sales are doing well, look at the sales. Not that we care, but here are the sale numbers. And I just think, genuinely though, that might happen. And I think Special Nick was saying that Xbox shouldn't even report on the sales if they do beat PlayStation, because they've already kind of moved away from that. What's your take on the whole sales thing? Do you think Xbox could potentially catch up worldwide?
I don't care. I don't care. So I had Sega consoles, so I understand the importance of hitting certain benchmarks.
Yeah.
The rest of it, I don't care. So I get what you're asking. The PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, it was massively relevant back then which one of those was like the lead platform for development, because whichever one wasn't suffered. If they built a game for the PlayStation 3 architecture, it didn't work so well on the 360. More often than not, it was the other way around. Most games were made for the 360 and struggled on the PlayStation 3 for at least the first few years of those consoles being around. And that's fairly well documented, and we know that. For these consoles, it's never going to be like that. Most games that come out, I couldn't tell you which one was the lead platform. It's not like a particularly relevant concept anymore, because they're so similar in what they do, and so similar in how they perform, so similar in every respect, really. We know the Xbox is slightly more powerful, but it's not. I know people like to talk about the special tools of the series consoles or whatever, but it being lead platform or otherwise is going to make so little difference to how any of that is used for me. So sales can be sales. Games are going to remain multi-plat between the two of them because they're so similar, and it makes sense in almost all cases.
Yeah. No, I think it would be. I think it's the opposite. I think yes, there's a focus on services, but that could be a big. Speaking of services, so PlayStation Plus's free game, Oddworld Soulstorm, the devs said they were devastated because I saw this being spun around, but they were devastated because they themselves negotiated a bad deal and they undershot how much the PlayStation Plus would do for the game. So they make these deals based on projected numbers, and PlayStation Plus, it sold I say sold, but it was downloaded nearly 4 million times, which is a lot more than they thought. And so a lot of people in the chat, like I saw this on the internet, a lot of people like, look, service games are bad, or look, this is hurting. I'm like, you obviously you do not have the ability to read articles and just make up your own mind. But really, it's not a slight on PlayStation. It's not a slight on PlayStation Plus or service models. It's really just a case of the devs making a bad deal, underestimating just how much a service like PlayStation Plus and Game Pass can really benefit games. Like the growth was staggering. That they really lost out. So that's really interesting in the conversation of hardware. But, Hargeet, when you were talking about console sales, I was just thinking Japanese people and the Japanese market. And there's another game, Scarlet Nexus. This is brilliant. A little insight into my source video, which is finally being filmed tomorrow. I apologize. I had vertigo for 3 weeks. Thought I had some brain problems, which I do, but not officially. But yeah, I got CAT scan, came clear. But what I was going to say, Scarlet Nexus, the developers behind it pushed a tweet. It said thank you to over 2 million players or something like that sold, and a big part thanks to Xbox and PC players. The chat on that Twitter thread was ridiculous. Our PlayStation guys, fanboys, were not pleased with the fact that they gave props to Xbox Game Pass, which is, you need to just at this point resign to it. I'm seeing a lot of backlash from a lot of the fanboy contingent just hating on Game Pass because Spartacus is absolute dog shit in comparison. So yeah, Hargeet, do you have anything to add about the strength of these? Because I know you're working on a video, but this is a change of shift in the market.
Now, let's be fair about all this, right? PS Plus did this, like this has been around since PS3 days, right? They've been giving away free games. So this is not a new model. It's been around for a very long time. So if anybody wants to complain about it on the Sony side, it's been your model for like 15 years. So go away. Like this is stupidity if you're saying now you need to catch up. And let me add another little stupid point. We don't support the devs. Really? Who doesn't support the devs? That would be your side. Because on our side, we don't have these complaints, right? Game Pass, people are buying the games. Game Pass games also leave. Now, to be fair, that's not the equivalent. PS Plus, the equivalent is Gold, Xbox Live Gold. And we don't know if somebody's ever come out and said, that was a horrible deal for us. I haven't heard of one, but maybe it's happened, right? So, but we just got to be careful about like this assumption like that this is somehow Game Pass. It is not. The Game Pass deals up to now have been very friendly to the developers and publishers wherever they're making the deal, right? So we had one issue where Square Enix made the deal and the developer didn't get any information about the deal, right? But that's not Microsoft's fault. They worked with the publisher and gave them the money, right? So,
there was an indie dev that was on Game Pass early on that complained that they could have gotten way more sales if they would have gone further. But I don't. That's like an outlier, and I actually think that Oddworld Soulstorm is an outlier. He's complaining he thought that he could reach a bigger audience, and maybe he just had different expectations like Square Enix does. But I mean, everybody's really happy about this.
Because like the game was one of those few exclusives that were available on the PlayStation side, so people wanted something, right? This came out in the the spring time frame when there was nothing else. Like there was what was that like multiplayer weird game that didn't go anywhere that Sony had launched. So that was really all they had. Destruction All Stars.
Yeah.
And so then they had this, right? And so people were like, okay, let's just try it, right? What the heck, right? And I think it was a PS5 game. So what the heck, right? So yeah, it was going to get downloaded. I don't know why they didn't realize that, right? But they also got delayed, right? So they were expecting to be at launch, and there would only be like 1 million at most, right? So hopefully they wouldn't have that many users. But it turned out they had a few more million available, so they had a larger market. So yeah, okay. It falls more on them. They decided to not figure out where that would have ended up, and didn't negotiate enough of a deal. But I don't know if that really equates to a Game Pass, or even, to be fair, to a PlayStation Plus Extra. Is it Extra and Premium? Those two tiers where they might actually have a better negotiated path. Whereas these games are yours, right? So as long as you're subscribed to the service, they're yours, right? So it's a little different with a PS Plus. Whereas in the other two, they can go away, right? The game can go away. At that point, you might decide to buy it if you like it, right? So that's kind of an interesting little change there too. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing to note, but he wasn't saying it in a way to say that it was Sony's fault. He wasn't blaming PS Plus, and I think that gets lost. He was just saying, I was dumb enough to not realize that would happen. I should have been better at negotiating what I should get out of it, right? So I think that was kind of like, it kind of got lost in the shuffle there. It wasn't really blaming PS Plus. It was just the way they structured it. And so, so I don't think this is bad for any subscription service thing yet. There could be one-offs here and there, but this is not a case of the subscription was the problem. I think this was just a not thinking it through. Hey, this is going to get a little bit bigger of a volume than you expect.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a startling reminder for people who are going forward and trying to estimate numbers. It's not easy. I don't know how
it's a teething problem.
It is a teething problem. I don't know how much data is available to devs when they negotiate these deals, but do not underestimate streaming services and the sheer popularity that the game will benefit from. I haven't played Oddworld Soulstorm, but I always thought Oddworld games were overlooked just because of their very unique style, and it's good. I'm kind of, having not played it myself, at the same time I was really happy to see that the game was doing well. Hopefully the devs can recoup some of that money, and I've seen the gameplay here. It looks great. Asa, what's your take on this? These guys really underestimating what PlayStation Plus is going to do.
It's relatively simple. So it's worth mentioning as well. The director Lorne Lanning was talking to Luke Law on the Xbox Expansion podcast when he was talking about this, and he was very clear in what had gone wrong. So the deal that they set for Oddworld was supposed to be it was supposed to land on the launch month of the PlayStation 5, when there would be launch numbers of the console out, a very limited number. And it's worth noting, Oddworld was released on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, but the PlayStation Plus deal was only the PlayStation 5 version. So they were very specific when they negotiated this deal. They arranged the price based on their estimates of how many people would have a PlayStation 5 and be able to download it in that first month. And I know technically you don't have to have a PlayStation 5. You can go on a browser and choose all the games before you've got the console, but that's a small number of people that are doing that. So their estimates were based on pretty hard numbers, and then they had to delay the game, and they delayed it by about 4 months. So they negotiated what they thought they would be a good deal for them on month 1. The game came out on month 4. They had 4 months worth of console sales, people that went and downloaded that game, which was about 4 million people. So
yeah,
it's what's impossible to say is how many of those 4 million people would have given the game a sniff. Yes, I see IGP Viper is saying in chat that it's a cross-gen game. You're absolutely right, it was a cross-gen game, but it was only the PlayStation 5 version that you could get on PlayStation Plus. You couldn't download it on the PlayStation 4.
Interesting.
No smart delivery going on over there, right? So it's all very distinct, separate things. You did not get the PlayStation 4 version on PlayStation Plus. So they miscalculated. They may be being kind to themselves, thinking that 4 million people would have bought the game. I don't know. But it is, in terms of numbers, and what's interesting about it is we know that he said they based their own estimates on, optimistically, they'd sell 100,000. Realistically, it will be a bit less. The game is, I think, £17, so probably, I don't know, $20. So if you can actually look at that and figure out what Sony were offering to put that game on PlayStation Plus. Obviously, PlayStation Plus deals aren't all going to be the same, and different games will be valued differently, but it's very rare that we get any insight into what developers are getting for putting their games onto subscription services. So now you've got ballpark numbers for one of them. And yeah, that's the whole story. There's not much else to say about it, really.
What's your ballpark figure? What's the number you're thinking of?
Like, they were saying optimistically 100,000. So you round up, you say like, I don't know, 150,000 times $20 or whatever it is at most.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's like Xbox money. Yeah. Right. Well, I didn't see that thing from Xbox. Which podcast was it?
Xbox expansion. I'm sorry, someone didn't the full name of it, but Luke Insipid Ghost
Xbox
podcast.
expansion pass.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know who they are. Okay, but yeah, okay. Well, that's quite interesting. The shift in the market, and just interesting as well. Just deals being made. That's another one. Speaking of sales, Cyberpunk has announced it's sold. I've deleted the number. I think it was 13 million.
18
Wait,
million.
did we get
Okay.
Colt's thing on that? I don't know. Did Colt talk about this?
No, I don't think Colt has talked about Cyberpunk sales. You haven't.
No, Cyberpunk. I mean,
No.
about the whatchamacallit, Oddworld.
Oddworld.
No, I mean, I was just saying that they're an outlier, that it just didn't, because like the PlayStation fans were using this as this is proof that the services don't work. It's like, no, everything else is working just fine. The thing is, like, because like Hargeet pointed out, Oddworld, Soulstorm, and Destruction All-Stars are really the only day and date things they offered. Like, you can't offer, I really feel like, because Jim Ryan said, putting day and date will lower the quality of our games. That's because he knows they put lower quality games day and date. They don't want to put their big things in the service. So he feels like, he's basically meaning we only put our little low faith games in day and date on the service. We don't put our big ones. Like, that would be, we'd be admitting that we only, that's only for low quality games. That's how I translate that when I look at the only 2 times that they've done that. And Destruction All-Stars, just wasn't good. It didn't rate well. It didn't win people over, so it didn't succeed. It's an outlier. Same thing with Bleeding Edge. Bleeding Edge launched day and date in a service. It died. It wasn't good enough. So, but you get these big, major, great games at launch in there, like almost everything else that's come out day and date. Outriders, here or there. A lot of people really liked it, so it did it okay, right? So that's kind of where I was getting at with that. That you can't use that as an argument. You can't use an edge case to make your hypothesis and make your scientific notation there and say, there it is. Oddworld Soulstorm doesn't work. Subscription services don't work. You lose. It's like, no, that's not how you use the scientific method. And I have spoken.
Yes. MLB The Show is an awesome answer to all of that, right? MLB The Show is not day and date on PlayStation services. It's a PlayStation game. It's day and date, both 21 and 22 in Game Pass. Does phenomenal.
And both of them
in Game Pass.
Both of them reviewed the same. Like,
yep.
He goes, well, we'll lower the quality of our games to put them in Game Pass. But Jim Ryan literally let them put MLB The Show 21 last year in Game Pass. It got like an 82 meta or something, whatever, if you who cares about meta, right?
Yeah.
But I think this 22 just came out 2 weeks ago or whatever, and it's the same review score. It's the same great game. If you love baseball games, I love it. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's very interesting. I do feel for the Soulstorm devs, but
let me ask you a question because the chat was asking me, Gaz. If they bring Battle Royale into Halo Infinite, does it have the potential to make it a better game overall?
Yeah, if it's a good mode, why not? Additive features, additive modes. Why wouldn't they? Even like a additional options,
unless
like
the
a
Battle
region
Royale,
filter could
if
make
the
a
Battle
game
Royale sucks, like if it's half cocked and it doesn't have enough content and it doesn't hit right, it's going to lower the perception of how great Halo Infinite is. But if it's really good, it will add maybe 5% greatness to it, or maybe it could double the allure and the draw of the game. If it hits really well and it's super popular for a month, it's going to raise the perception of how great Halo Infinite is the package, because they're like, the campaign's really great, some of these modes are really awesome, there's more stuff coming, can't wait for co-op, like blah blah blah. And Halo, and then Battle Royale hits really great. Like, yes, it raises the quality of the game because you're adding great content.
Yeah, absolutely. I see in chat Ice Cold and other Zinc are literally forming a human centipede there by the time. And I take your points on board, but really, you think I don't understand why.
And I agree, Other Zinc. I said already earlier in the show, Halo Infinite is one of the best playing, feeling combat. Hands down, like, because I was playing it this morning before the show, played it the other day before I made that video, because I kind of hadn't touched it in a couple months. I was like, gosh dang, this game still looks really good, still looks really pretty good. And I said it in my video, and that feel, oh my gosh, it's so good. I think they really nailed it.
This is the thing, other Zinc and think don't understand, and no one is talking about the gameplay. Why are you changing the goalpost? Other Zinc is, Gaz is wrong, the gameplay is great. Do you understand the point about releasing a fully featured game so that doesn't hurt the longevity of the game? If you delay the game and released it, great. It's great for the optics, great for engagement, great for everything. It doesn't make the game good if you have anemic content. No, just pick a hill. Now others say, oh, look at the microtransactions. It made more than Horizon Forbidden West makes in its lifetime. That's your argument. You're just changing goalposts. Makes no sense. I don't know why I'm answering this question. Cyberpunk sells 18 million. And I want to ask you, gents, is Cyberpunk, is that good sales number? Cyberpunk is also going to have a major expansion. And to me, that is the time the tides turn for Cyberpunk. Because if you know anything about The Witcher and how well it was supported for so long with incredible DLC content, Cyberpunk, I think CDPR are going to go really hard on supporting this. And I'm actually really eager to, one, complete the game, because I still haven't really done that because it's not that much of a driver. Although I've been playing on Xbox now and I'm actually enjoying it. But then
I have 120 hours on that game. Yeah,
it's a good game, but the expansion will be the pivotal changing point, in my opinion. First of all, Hargeet, what do you think? 18 million, is that a good number of sales? And two, what do you think about the future for Cyberpunk?
Fantastic amount of sales. People seem to think that you need to sell 80 million. Like, I don't know if people realize just how, if you breach 20 million, that puts you like in the top 30 games of all time. That's a ridiculous amount. 18 million is fantastic sales. 5 million is fantastic sales, let alone 18 million. We have to just put things in perspective. Not all games are Call of Duty that sells like 40 million every time. That's not going to happen for most games, right? If you breach 20 million, you're a very large property at that point. That's a massive amount of sales. Like, Nintendo's the only one who does that routinely. That's just the way it is, right? So that's fantastic. I know Witcher 3, I think, breached 30. I think they're above 30 at this point. And they're like in the top 15 or something like that. They're ridiculous, right? But so yeah, 18 million is fantastic, especially with that launch that they had where they were slammed by everybody, right? They still managed to do a lot. That's pretty good. And they'll probably reach 20 at least. So that makes it a pretty good hit. So I would say that's fantastic for them. And by the way, on the Halo thing, yes, it will make a difference because those maps that they make for battle royale will become large big team battle maps. So that will become available for them, right? So it would absolutely help to have battle royale because we'll get more maps. So anyway, so yes, I think it absolutely is great.
Oh, I have a different take on that, but Cole, what do you think about Cyberpunk? Because well, let me just insert my take in there to then lead to you. Normally the game sold, I think, a vast majority of its sales early, like
13.
I think it was like 15 or 13 million, and
13,
then the rest of it,
in the first couple of months it was 13. Yeah.
And based on this isn't just any other game. This is a CD Projekt Red game with massive metric fuck tons of hype going into this game. So,
massive what? Metric
fudge tons. Fudge tons.
Fudge tons of hype. Fudge tons of hype going in. And what do you think of the sales? It's taken a long while to hit those 5 million extra sales. I don't know what the numbers are. Again, I keep.
I mean, the sales. Excuse me. The sales have always been really good on the game. Like as much as it faltered at launch, I really liked it. I'm not even gonna give you my opinion. I really like the game. 120 hours. I'm glad I played it, but it just doesn't seem like the same studio that made Witcher 3 at all. Not even nothing. Nothing. If somebody told me that it was the team that made Witcher 3, I'd say, no, it's not. No, it's not. But a very cool game. Like Hargeet said perfectly, it's a massive success throughout all of its stumbles. So I don't know. I don't think I'll really go back to it. I don't know what they're going to add that would bring me back because the foundation of the game is not that alluring to me that much anymore. So we'll see what they do next.
But Cole, did you play? So for The Witcher, did you play the 2 expansions for that?
Yes, I did. I played all the Witcher content, but The Witcher in itself is a great open world. It felt like a great modern game, but Cyberpunk doesn't feel like a modern game to me. And why don't you guys just get your pitchforks ready? I'm going to say this, all right? Because I love Cyberpunk. I enjoyed it. I couldn't stop playing it. But it is truly a 360 era game made for an Xbox One and PS4 and PC. It really is like design. The whole design setup is like when we first got into the open world action adventure open world games with RPG elements. 100%. They didn't do anything in that game that I didn't see in the 360 era. That like when we first started seeing that, oh my gosh, you can go in and like with Fallout and Skyrim, where you can go over and you can go to that container and open it up and grab the items and inventory management and first person combat. Like it really felt like a boosted Gen 8 game, I think it is. Or Gen 7.
Jeff Grubb said this in his review, and I really like Jeff's review on that, as opposed to a lot of mindless shilling for the game. I won't mention reviews, but Jeff Grubb mentioned that point. And I read that and I was like, oh, it's like, this is decidedly a but exactly what you've said. It's like a 360 gen game.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I always have to add this in when I say it, because not because I need to help people not get mad at me, but the other reason why I said it's really rooted in a 360 PS3 era games, because I loved those games back then. Like I feel like in the Xbox One and PS4 era, we got like a re-emergence of what was so great back in that era in the Xbox One and PS4 era. Like, oh, now we know how to do open worlds, so now we're going to do it like the Far Cry games were just a repeat of Far Cry 3, and they built upon them and they improved them in so many different ways. I just felt like it was a 360 era type game in kind of the best way possible as well, because I couldn't stop playing it. It made me feel like I was enjoying those old style games, because it really doesn't do anything new, but I do love that era of games that has such charm and how they built an open world back then.
Yeah.
Anyway, absolutely. Sorry, I'll go ahead.
No, that's a great point. No, I understand that completely. But that's a very positive way of looking at things. Asa, I see you in chat said you loved Cyberpunk. What do you think about the sales of 18 million? And what do you think of this new major expansion marks for Cyberpunk? And I'm not going to add an and. I always make them long. I'm trying to make it long on purpose now. But what's your take on Cyberpunk? Have you completed the game?
I don't think you saw me in chat say anything about Cyberpunk because I haven't done. I haven't completed it. No,
I
not
love
at all.
Cyberpunk. Oh, that's cold.
No, said that. Yeah, there we go. Okay. No, I haven't finished it. I have not. I'm torn on whether I wait for hardware that can play it at its best, or whether I go through it, or whether I try and mod it and play it in VR. So it's just on a backlog at the moment. The numbers, I mean, it's a pretty good ratio of sales to yellow chairs given out, right? So they've got to be happy with that, the old marketing department. They've got just the right number of 10 out of 10 reviews.
Yeah, I can name a few.
So yeah, I mean, they're going to be both happy and disappointed, right? Because they sold almost 14 million in the launch period. So the tail has probably been stomped on through negative word of mouth. And I say that 4 million is like the tail of 4 million. Most games, most publishers, everyone besides Square Enix would probably be really happy with those numbers. Right? Square Enix will never be happy with anything, so who knows there. But personally, I'm really looking forward to what they do with it, because CD Projekt Red built their reputation on what they deliver to games post-launch, more so than anything in terms of quality. Like the first Witcher game, if you go and play it, it's not particularly nice, and it wasn't particularly nice to play when it launched. It was popular because, one, it had boobs, and two, they did free content after it launched, and that studio became famous for doing free, like, quality free content after games launched.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay. It wasn't free for Witcher 3, was it? That once they started working with the publisher, they charged for that.
In his mouth, quite obviously.
So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to.
Wait! What did Witcher 1 have?
Witcher 3.
The thing that you're pretending to is in your mouth right now.
Yes!
Well, actually, that could go two ways.
Yes! Hargeet, don't you laugh at that. Don't you laugh at that, Hargeet.
I always laughing.
It's too late. Yeah, no, great point. So no, I think it's. I love your Square Enix comment. I do think that the game I'm really eager. I played it on Xbox, and I'm enjoying it more on Xbox than I was on PC. Don't ask me why. I just liked it. I've just come to the terms with, because on PC I was playing with ray tracing on sub 30 frames, because it does look amazing. It looks fundamentally different in my opinion, but playing it in performance mode, I'm enjoying it a lot more on Xbox, and I've come to terms with it's not going to be that big shift in the game. It's exactly what Cole said.
I'm really curious about
game.
that. Pause, because your PC is absolutely capable of doing what your Xbox is doing right now. So are you enjoying it more because you don't like having the options that a PC has? Like, you prefer to just have it set, here's my performance profile.
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. He can just say, I'm not going to get ray tracing at performance, so I'm just going to play it like this and not worry about the settings. And I am that way with PC. I get that way where when I go to the console, I'm like, I don't have any options, and you just get what you get, and you just enjoy the game. Sometimes I obsess about the settings on my PC the more than playing the game. It's such a dumb thing.
Drummond, what are you doing in chat, Isla? Naughty.
That's because you always see people saying that they want more settings brought into console games, but you're kind of going the opposite direction there, because you've obviously got. It's not a performance thing that's making you play on the Xbox. It's the lack of options and the fact that it's there. So it's a more interesting conversation point than sales to me.
It's a combination of that. It's kind of my being defeated by my performance on the 2070 with ray tracing wasn't great. I didn't even turn it off though, because the option was there. But with the Xbox, because the ray trace, I think it's not even ray trace reflections, right? It's just ray trace shadows on the console. It just didn't feel as visually nice. So I ended up playing with performance mode, 60 solid, and I think it's a combination of what you said. I was like, it's there. You talked about this very early on, like with Spider-Man, like the lack of options sometimes can't be good. It's a great point. I think that's not explored because people just on the internet don't have the facility to take that meaningfully or earnestly. But someone is spamming chat. But yeah, no, I don't know. But the simplicity of it, lack of option, actually helped me enjoy it in that case. I know it's funny we said options earlier on in this stream, but yeah, no, Cyberpunk, watch out for that major update. I think that will be the turning point for the goodwill for CD Projekt Red, assuming what's it called? The Witcher game isn't revealed before then, which are unlikely. RG Viper X, thank you for being a member for 5 months. He says, here is some salt for PlayStation fanboys. God of War mocap actor Joseph Garrett was arrested. Are you guys going to support the game in dev now? Of course, RG. You can't, just because some chap got arrested for some crazy stuff means you boycott the game. But I understand some fanboy corners were crying shock when something happened on the Xbox side. It's just silly. Shabs Inevitable, thank you so much for being a member as well. He goes, the one thing Xbox and Microsoft really need to implement on PC is a better Xbox app, for God's sake. DLSS on their first party games. The tech needs to improve. The store needs desperate. I'm shocked that that's taking so long to fix. Why is it such a big unsurmountable problem for Xbox, the software company, God's sake? Danny Passion Official, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Shout out, Danny. It's always nice seeing you. What's up, panel? He says, what's up, Danny? When are my filming lessons, bro? Yeah, so another game that got trailer. I don't play this game. I don't think any of us, apart from maybe Acer, plays Kingdom Hearts 4. The trailer was released. We'll probably play it and we'll get flagged like we did last week. But Kingdom Hearts 4's trailer got revealed, and I will say this: it's to be built on Unreal Engine 5, and when they show the gameplay, it looks amazing graphically. I regret not tweeting about, at least messaging in the group about it. I was like, this is built on Unreal Engine because it looks like the Matrix demo and the buildings look the same as that. Although that trailer wasn't it's based on Unreal Engine 4, but it will be used in Unreal Engine 5. But I thought, this is an Unreal Engine game. And I'm already starting to notice the samey look. Is this a risk with Kingdom Hearts games? Hargeet, I see you giggling like a schoolgirl in the camera. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts, do you play Kingdom Hearts?
I have. I played them all on Xbox because, of course, Phil was great to put it into Game Pass. And so I played... There's so many of those games. I didn't play every one of the side games. I played a little bit of those and then just looked up the story. I played the mainline 1, 2, and 3, but they're massive. I thought they were pretty good, cool. I mean, if you like that Disney world, it's pretty nice. I'll probably play 4 when it comes out, and hopefully it does enter into Game Pass. Day and date, Phil, make it day and date.
Yeah, day and date.
But yeah, so as far as the look. Yeah, it looks, I mean, the normal Kingdom Hearts are very cartoony, right? So this is a kind of departure to have it look real, like when they're going out in the city here.
Well, I mean, this is in engine, apparently, presumably.
Yeah, so this is just
that's like, just the engine,
the Matrix demo, right?
It's the Matrix demo.
Yeah, it's the Matrix demo.
Right? And so, like, one more little saucy thing to say. Was it Blue Box that made the Abandoned game?
Yeah.
This is what they pulled off to just showcase the game that's coming. And I'm sure it didn't take them years to put out a freaking person walking with the feet. And that's their demo. That's a demo.
It does look like they took the Unreal Engine 5 Matrix demo and just added some characters to it.
It's more than feet. Look, they even show the whole big giant bad guy.
Can't compare bloody the same studio to one man lying shyster abandoned. Come on.
You're all drunk. It looks nothing like the Matrix thing. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not even green.
Look at the buildings. Look at the cars.
That city shot looked like it.
The city shot. I mean, look at the buildings, right? I actually thought that this is built on.
They have windows, if that's what you mean.
The building's just like the grayness of it. It just looks, and it's like it just. I was convinced this is Unreal
Definitely
Engine
Unreal
5
Engine
demo.
5 has grey buildings, not having any other commentary. No.
And the cars and the people around it. Yeah, it just looks like it. It just has that aesthetic. It has the feel. Chat. back me up, please. It does kind of remind me of. It looks like it. It's just the way the
Matrix demo
textures
was
and everything.
green entirely.
You can turn that off, though.
Was
I know you
green
can.
if you had that overlay, but you could turn that off. But I didn't. But yeah, I
Asa triggered by Matrix Hearts. Shout out to Sleepy Goblin for that comment.
Nice.
No, we were just kidding, Asa.
Kaz wasn't.
No, but what Kingdom. I was serious. I was literally about to message like, "Yo, man, this in the WhatsApp group." I was like, "You know, we were talking about games looking same. Look at this. I swear this is built on Unreal Engine 5." Then the news piece came out. It's going to be built on Unreal Engine 5. Then I was like, "Wait, that wasn't built on it. It's built on Unreal Engine 4. They're going to port it onto 5." But that's Kingdom Hearts fan. That game is too ridiculous. I know, Colt, you haven't even played it, so I'm not even going to bother asking you. But even though you're a big Disney fan like me, because it's all about whole new world. But I'm not going to play Daffy Duck and whatever Mickey Mouse and Final Fantasy. It's just weird to me. And the story apparently is massively convoluted. I don't know what's going on. But very quick, okay, before we wrap up the show, Gearbox owner Embracer said it's continuing its $8 billion acquisition spree, consolidation everywhere. It's everywhere. And I have nothing to add to that. Final topic, unless you guys want to talk about it, but what's there to talk about with Embracer? They're just going to spend that $8 billion. Final bit of news. Hideo Kojima was making the news again. Everyone thought, for my Sony, if you didn't, most of you may not have Twitter. so Hideo Kojima tweeted out, Hargeet doesn't even have social media. He still uses MySpace.
I've never had that either.
No one uses MySpace. Hideo Kojima pushed out a tweet, and he pushed out something with PlayStation Studios and a heart or something. And the internet went with wildfire, and yet some of the biggest fanboys jumping in there said, "Welcome to PlayStation, da-da-da-da." And then Hideo Kojima comes back and says, "No, sorry, we're still remaining independent." But the news made a big deal, and I will say, just to defend the PlayStation fanboys a little bit, just you clearly need the help. Let me give you some help. We've had examples of who is it? The Blue. What the hell's the name? That made Demon's Souls remake. What was it? Blue Box.
Blue
yeah.
Point. Yeah, Blue Point.
Blue Point.
Blue Point, not
that's
Blue
it.
Box.
Blue Box is the bad guys.
Blue Box is abandoned.
Yeah. Blue Point. Blue Point. Yeah, they're the bad guys. Don't explain. Hassan.
Bad guys.
No. Yeah. So Blue Point did say something similar, and then boom, a few months later, acquisition happened. So Kojima saying that they wants to remain independent, and then doesn't mean that won't happen, because acquisition's very sensitive with these things. Acquisition level stuff, you have to tread carefully, because even like early whiff of these things can actually derail deals. Always watch out the Beats by Dre when Tyrese blurted out the weekend before that Apple going to be buying Beats, celebrating and everything. Great. Oh, it's just so brilliant. You have to watch. I'm going to go off topic here. But yeah, so Kojima's going to remain independent. Now, the final topic, because I have two videos, a source video, I always say this, but I am working on it, and an Xbox first party video on. But I did a video on Hideo Kojima and PlayStation Studios being acquired. Colt, take your Xbox cap off. Try to be a PlayStation fanboy or fan at this time round. PlayStation going to acquire some studios. Try it.
Yes.
You're not MBG. You can have a sensible discussion. I mean, fairness to MBG, I did go at him and say, "Hold on, you're being a hypocrite. He was egging on the Kojima acquisition. Then I'm like, hold on, you just said something different. Now you're hoping for it." And he said, "Yep, I was scared about Xbox." He's still scared that Xbox will get Kojima. But
everyone is scared that Xbox will acquire whatever. But Jeff Grubb said earlier this morning that they're not getting Hideo Kojima, but they are ramping up for some big acquisition, some type of studio acquisition very, very soon. I don't know how possible that is, but
Very possible, no?
yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I am really getting frustrated with Xbox being stuck in a stalemate while they fight through this weird Activision Blizzard thing. And PlayStation is like, oh my gosh, we're going to buy up 9 studios in 1 year. Like, that's what it seems like. They're just going to buy a bunch of studios while Xbox sits on this Activision Blizzard king deal and waits for it to get pushed through. So I don't know. People just kind of say, oh, I think they're buying this or that, and none of us know. Jeff Grubb doesn't know. He just is hearing something that they're about to announce something. You don't know who the acquisition is. No one knows. If you did, we'd all be in court for insider trading, which is what Xbox is, or Activision is going through, right? So, these things are very tightly held. But it does seem like he could be right again. There could be another announcement they're going to make, and maybe it'll be another studio we've never heard of that was so organic. It will change the way that PlayStation games are made.
So there, he couldn't do it. He couldn't put the PlayStation out on. He had to shit on Sony.
Somebody said to me the other day, the way you just hate PlayStation in the way you talk. I'm like, oh my gosh, calm down. Go play Witcher 1. Go play Witcher 1. It's got digital boobs in it.
Hargeet, Boba Fett, thank you for the $5 super chat, because there's obviously some validity to Sony acquisition. Who do you think it is? I think, and also, what do you think of Sony's strategy of not obviously by lack of choice buying these smaller studios, whereas Xbox went for Activision Blizzard and now is at a stalemate because of the sheer scale of the deal and regulation that follows it? What do you think Sony's strategy might pay off, and who do you think Sony's next studio is?
If it's a studio, not a publisher, right? We're assuming it's a studio, not a publisher.
Could be a publisher. I think Capcom would be an incredible buy for Sony.
Yeah, and then that's what I was expecting more so is something like that, right? One of the smaller publishers. Certainly the Japanese ones are available. They wouldn't have to deal with the FTC or the Department of what was it, the DOJ, right? That they would have to look at it. So, look, Sony also bought an American company for $3.6 billion. That does go above the threshold for monopoly consideration. I don't know why that isn't being looked at. They're already the market leader, right? So, so that should actually have triggered a second look from the FTC. So I don't know why that didn't happen. It probably will happen, but I don't know. We'll have to see when that moves forward. If they go to something just like that, let's say they picked up Square Enix. Well, Square Enix has operations in the US, in Canada, and in Japan, right? So I don't know if they actually have European studios as well. But that means all of those territories will look, and then therefore it would also come back to here. And so if they pick that up for like $9 billion, $10 billion, then the FTC would have to look at it, right? At some point, they will be stifled if they go beyond the normal threshold is 100 million. So they have to pick something small, and then they can just buy it. It wouldn't be an issue. But if they're looking at a big, and that's what we hear, big, then that means they will also have to deal with this, and they will be stifled as well. They will have to contend with getting their deals done.
Would you say that Sony would have a harder time being a Japanese company?
Not necessarily, right? It really becomes a question of how much of a market lead they would create, right? This is all about the customer. That's what it's supposed to be about. Now, look, I have the contention that Sony is already acting like a monopoly. The very fact that they could take profits from other platforms for crossplay means that they are a monopoly. That is not something normally that would happen, right? I can't go to Android and say you have to pay me to take things away from iOS. That is ridiculous. But they did it. Yeah. They did it, right? And that means they're already acting like a monopoly, right? And so in the case of most AAA developers, really their platforms of choice are PC and then 2 consoles, Xbox, where it's probably 20-30% of their sales, and 70+% on Sony. They're a monopoly. That's it. Anything over 50%, they're becoming a monopoly, and that's the way it is, right? So that's what our FTC would have to look at and say, hey, if I add all this content, I'm expanding their market share. Are they now really effectively a monopoly? And that's what they would have to look at. So I think this really needs to, if we just look at big tech as just Microsoft, Google. No, Sony's a big tech company too. and they can absolutely try to corner this market. They've been trying to the whole last gen, and so it really needs to come up that way. Now, I don't know if our FTC looks at it that way or not. They should, but that is one fear that you really do need to have. Like Sony continuing to expand as well creates this problem. Microsoft's catching up. Even with this, they wouldn't have caught up to Sony, right? That's the point, right?
Yeah.
So, and Sony
is going to be the headline point when they approach the FTC.
And so, if they go buy another $10 billion publisher, they're expanding themselves. What that basically says is, Microsoft, go buy the next $20 billion thing, because you haven't caught up to us yet, right? That's what that does. So, yes, they could do that, but then they're going to have to expect Microsoft's going to go gobble up more. Right. Yeah. And it'd be fair. Right. Now, is that good for the industry? I don't know. Right. Because that just means more consolidation to platforms, right? Because now you don't have that openness. Some of these other players won't be able to put stuff on Nintendo or whatever, right? Hopefully they all go to PC. That hopefully still happens, but it's just something you have to worry about, right? So it's good and bad, right? So I think it's great if Sony keeps buying if you're an Xbox fan, because that means Xbox can go buy the next big publisher too, right? Yeah. But
great point. Asa, what do you think of that? What Hargeet said there? The things like PlayStation also breaking the stalemate of acquisitions is quite reactive as well. And I know you don't like speculating on things, but surely you have something to say about the next acquisition. And Jeff Grubb talking about.
I don't care for the rumors. No, time spent talking on rumors is time that could be spent playing games. As far as I'm concerned, I'd rather do that. But I don't particularly agree with what Hargeet was saying about Sony acting like they're currently a monopoly, particularly on that crossplay clause, because it was quite specific. The crossplay policy was fairly controversial, and we did actually see the details of it. And the details of it are that if people are playing a cross-platform game a certain percentage of their time on the PlayStation, but spending their money on stores elsewhere, that's when Sony gets some money from that. And I don't think that is the same as taking money from other platforms specifically, because that is just protecting their interests. Like, you're playing on our platform, we should get some of the money. And I'm not saying I'm in favor of Sony doing it, right? I much prefer Microsoft. Like, people spending is a benefit for everyone. Let's get people spending everywhere. It's nicer, but I understand Sony's position there is fairly defensive rather than monopolistic. They're making sure they don't get the rug pulled out from under them. No, I really don't think it is. So because they're guarding against a scenario that Apple and Google are in court for at the moment, where Epic say, we're putting a free game on the PlayStation and making sure that PlayStation get none of the money for it because we're going to give you a cheaper way to buy the currency over here. So I totally understand a corporation defending against that. That's not monopolistic. That's saying, wait, that can't happen. You're not putting games on our platform and giving us none of the money for it.
Let me give you a different scenario. Let's say you get one of these free-to-play games like Fortnite. Let's say you put that on Android and you go to an iPad and buy all of your microtransactions there. Does Google then have the right to say, hey, about 90% of the time you're playing that game on my platform and I got zero money for it?
I'm glad, Hargeet.
Apple got all that money.
I'm very glad that you're using Fortnite as the example, because this is very real and it's exactly what happened. And it's happening and it's in court at the moment. Apple and Google have both said that's not okay. They both said no. But you're saying, should they be able to? Today. No, they said no. That's not on. It's not on Apple Store anymore. It's not on Play Store. It's not on the store anymore. They removed it for that reason. You can't get Fortnite on the Apple Store because Epic set up a store and said pay over here instead. And Apple had no way of getting the money. So they took it off the store.
Exactly. So
I'm not sure what your point is. That kind of supports my point.
No. In that, take another game. Say it's Apex. Any game that's on both platforms. Let's say it's still in the store. You could play that game on one platform, but buy on another. And that happens a lot. Why? Parents are the ones buying. So parents have maybe an iOS phone, and you might have an Android, right? In that case, Android's never going to get the money, but they're being played. That's where the game is being played, right? That scenario exists today. It's fair game. It is what it is, right? That's the way it goes.
No, I've never seen that. I've never seen that particular scenario that you just talked through. I've got children that play Fortnite. I would never log on to a different platform to the one that they play on. So if they're playing on a phone, if they're playing on an iPhone, I would never log on to Android and get them V-Bucks. It's not nearly the same scenario as Epic setting up a store. So this is the cheapest way to buy. Which is the reality. That's what they try to do.
Phone. That's what happens, right? But anyway, it can totally happen. And a lot of parents also like to be able to spend money on a phone because it's convenient rather than on a console.
Yeah,
It's just the case.
it's viewed differently as well.
But the
spending
scenario that you're
habit.
talking about, you'd have to log into your child's Fortnite account to spend currency. I don't think that happens nearly as much. But the very real scenario that I'm saying that PlayStation are defending against is exactly what Epic have done. They're saying, Epic, you can't do that here. Because Epic said, this is the price now. They undercut their own store, right? They said V-Bucks are cheaper if you buy them directly. It absolutely is. This is about spending off of the platform.
This isn't what Sony cares about, right?
No,
it's not what Sony
disagree.
cares about.
Stop. I'm not having that. That's absolutely not it. Sony care about the money.
Wait, hold on. What?
Sony's whole proposition, and it says it in the policy. If you read the policy, it says if they're playing here, but they're going to a different store to buy the currency, then you have to give us a certain amount based on where they're playing. That's the policy.
Yeah, exactly. Which is baloney. That's not the case for anything else.
I'm not saying that it is, but I'm saying that it's not monopolistic.
It is, 100% it is. Because then
I don't agree.
Reality is
we'll
Epic would say,
That's
screw
fine.
you, and I'm not going to put my game on your platform. Can they do that?
Pardon? Sorry?
Could Epic say, I'm not putting my game on your platform? Would it
Epic
hurt
was
them to
strong
do
on
that?
everyone, absolutely. Yeah, they say we're only putting our game on your platform if we can sell the currency cheaper. Hence the court case with Apple and Google. It's happening right now.
Yeah, I just totally see it differently than you do. Because that would essentially mean that I could pull my game from PlayStation. And the answer is you can't. Because there's too many players there. That's just a reality, right? So you can't just pull your game. Normally, in a non-monopolistic situation, you would just say, I don't care about that platform, I'm going away. Because I can make my money anywhere else, right? That's the thing.
Delay Halo.
Delay Halo. You guys have nothing else to say, right? So,
this is what GameOnDaily is about. Healthy debates. I am literally sitting there and watching. I have no horse on either case. I don't know who's right, who's wrong here. I'm just listening to both. I can see both points. I kind of feel we both are talking at cross purposes as well. But then the interpretation of whether or not that's monopolistic, Hargeet, you need to work on that video because I want to see that. But no, this is it.
Monopoly. What would you see as a monopoly?
70% of
What
the
would
market.
you call it a monopoly?
70% is the definition that we have over here. In the UK, I think it's 70% is a monopoly.
Yep, they have it. In the console space, they absolutely have it. 115 to 50. They have it.
They have the monopoly.
They have the monopoly.
Yeah, the numbers say that, no?
What numbers? What revenue?
No. Consoles. Number of consoles.
Number of consoles. So Nintendo haven't outsold
You said
them.
market, right? And in fact, in revenue, they do as well, right? They're at 32, 3 billion. Microsoft's at 11.
I don't know what's happening here. Sorry, what? They've got a monopoly on what?
So you said the monopoly is at 70%, right?
70% of a market, like market share.
Yes.
I don't
How much
know.
of them-
I'm not Googling it right now, but I think that's the
How much
UK
of the
definition
console?
of a
You already know
monopoly.
the numbers. PS4 sold 112, 13, 14, whatever million, right?
Okay, and how many Switches have
PlayStation has a
sold?
monopoly in the market.
Switches don't have the same market share because they're not using the same games. They're a totally disjoint console, unfortunately.
Okay, so
now,
is
once
it formally
that changes,
monopoly or
yes,
not?
that'd be
Sorry.
awesome. So
I
it
don't know
already
what
is
we're
a
talking about
monopoly.
anymore. Is it though? Is it
Yeah,
actually
PlayStation-
categorized as a monopoly
I thought-
anywhere?
I don't know.
Besides
Should it be?
Hargeet Land, is it actually?
Well, isn't
And
it?
I'm not saying yes or no. I don't know. I've not done the research into that. But
I thought it was. I thought PlayStation was dubbed as a monopoly since, especially in the 360 era. PlayStation 4, the last gen, it widened it even more. I was always under the impression PlayStation had a monopoly.
No, you're in the impression that PlayStation was the market leader for a long time, where they were the reviewed platform for every game. PlayStation was buying more third-party supported exclusives on the platform. Xbox was trying to grow back from the 360 close generation. There's a big difference between what is a market leader and a monopoly, because it's kind of hard to say that. You can't say that Xbox or PlayStation themselves will be a monopoly because their games, 90% of their games are multi-platform. It's just a device to play a game. But when you look at something like Microsoft making, it's kind of asinine to say that Game Pass and what they're doing with Xbox Game Studios would be a monopoly, because they are literally putting their games everywhere. but a PlayStation. And if they could put their games on a PlayStation via Game Pass, they would, or a Switch, they would absolutely do it. As long as they're allowed, they would do it. And you got like a guy like in here, like Nivik Datatin, who's saying, you know, I'm pretty sure that Starfield's going to be on PlayStation. Well, yes, it will. If you load up the YouTube app, you'll absolutely get almost the full experience of Starfield. When I put my recording on there and you watch my video, you'll get Starfield on your PlayStation. But this whole thing about a monopoly where PlayStation could go buy 37 studios this year. And will they be a monopoly? I mean, there's thousands of studios that make, or hundreds of mainline studios that make games. And PlayStation will only own 20. Xbox will own maybe 30. Like, come on. Give me a break.
Yeah.
And Hargeet and I talked about this pre-show. And Hargeet, like, is very, very level-headed about this. Like, when we talk about the whole thing about Activision, Blizzard, and the FTC stepping in, like, this isn't a monopoly problem. Like, they may corner the services market with Game Pass, but what the freak do you think PlayStation are doing? They're busting their balls to try and get a competitive Game Pass solution. They just are so stingy and stringent that they won't offer day and date. It's their only holdback. If they offered day and date, they would totally be neck and neck with Game Pass. But their fans are so ridiculously restrictive where they can't. Jim Ryan has to fight with his leadership and his fans where they can't offer them a better value. It's not about a monopoly. And Hargeet was talking about this so well on Party Chat with me that it's not. Maybe I'll give you the reins on that one, but it's not really about a monopoly. It's about approval and getting things ready to go because. Oh, I want to talk about this on Monday because there's so much. I'm sorry.
With Hogue, right?
Yes.
Hogue and some other prick. I don't know who that is, but
oh right, Gaz is going to be there.
I never talk about who's on my show till like the day of. But yeah, I mean,
thanks, Hogue.
Oh, so good.
That was brilliant.
I mean, but Asa and Hargeet going on this argument about a monopoly, like, of course, there's difference between how things are run in the UK and how Asa sees it and how Hargeet sees it. And then, of course, both of these two guys don't know everything about the legalese and all that stuff. So they're having the best conversation they can have. Well, all we know is we're in the middle of this situation with Xbox and this Activision thing where they're up against some crazy different values that are going on politically, and it's just going to be this weird fight. And then Hargeet said another thing. What was the next obstacle they have to run into?
And sorry, in which
for Activision for approval for Activision because they're working against the FTC right now.
Once they have the US, then they have to go to the EU, then they have to go to is there Canada? I think Canada's involved as well, right? So wherever there are studios, they're gonna have to deal with that, right? So and the EU tends to be a bit more challenging. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So it's kind of messy.
It is messy. I like the back and forth. That's it. The GameOnDaily team literally. Asa was literally red-faced there. I don't know if it was the gin or just he actually felt emotional about it.
Yes.
But that's hey man.
I think Dealer had a super chat if you were able to clock it before it.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. Oh, you're such a piece to bring it like that. First of all, Poxy, thank you for the membership check. I almost forgot to wish you a happy birthday. Yeah, it's one of those times I'm happy to read a happy birthday one. Then there comes Dealer Gaming, the guy who doesn't give a shiz, keeps it real all the time. He says, shout out to one of the more entertaining podcasts around. No boring self-righteous journalists here. Dealer Gaming, why you so one? Thank you, Dad. And two, I know exactly what you're talking about, Dealer. Yeah, we like to have fun. We have to keep it real. We're not trying to get E3 stint to present. I don't know, attack people, but I know what you're talking about. Shout out to Dealer, who always reminds me if I in this race just to keep it real. I love you, Dealer. But yeah, no, fiery chat. Asa, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know what either one of you were saying, but I just want to side with Hargeet because I love him.
No, side with this. That's fine. Guys, we have a different topic too, right? This PlayStation.
Finally, the final topic, which is in the title. Thank you, Hargeet, for reminding me. Asa, as you're sitting there silently, please talk to me about this monopolistic behavior. I mean, PlayStation invests in Epic Games for $1 billion. PlayStation,
just like
Epic.
Quick clarification on that. PlayStation didn't. Sony did, right? Which is quite an important distinction for what the Epic investment is. So Sony invested smaller sums twice in the past, like $200 million or some trivial amount like that, like I've got in my pocket. And then a week ago or so, they invested another billion. So they now own something like 7% of Epic. Not like a controlling share by any means. And they are, because it's Sony, you can say, so Unreal Engine 5, we all know it from a gaming perspective, but it is also heavily used in movies as well. So, I mean, what's the return for them? I don't actually know. I don't know why they're doing this if they're literally looking for a straight financial return. There's a lot of talk about, I hate the word entirely, I hate everything about metaverse, but that's coming up in conversation. They want to work with Epic to develop that side of it as well as movies and games.
What if the metaverse is all of your friends on those treadmill VR machines slapping and like hunching some
Awesome.
Well, then maybe, like, if the metaverse turns out to be that, maybe I'm all for it. But I think the metaverse has already been achieved, and I think it's Roblox, and I think it's disgusting.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to Asa hunching medieval guys in a courtyard with his VR headset.
Please put that back on, Asa. We need to see that gameplay. Well, I think it was a very smart play by Sony. Well, but PlayStation invest big by PlayStation by in association with Sony. Plus, it's SEO friendly putting that in the title. Then Sony invest big. We have to do it. I have to haul myself out for the YouTube analytics. We don't bot our channel here. We have crawled and earned every single sub. Thank you for that. And I know some people who like to be quite high and mighty about it, but they're doing some dodgy things. Hey, it's up to you. But
there are almost 300 people here watching. The chat's going crazy. Like, I recognize almost everybody in the chat. Like, these are real people that are part of the Game On Daily community. They're amazing. They're awesome.
Thank you. No, honestly, thank you. And as I said, shit the like button. I mean, hit the like button if you're enjoying it. This is just, you have the chat. Literally, Asa and Hargeet, they're Game On familia, and they're just like, and me and Asa will go at it, and I'll beat the shit out of Asa, but not in real life because he's blacked out and he'll beat me up in 2 seconds. But I love the chat. This is it. This is what WhatsApp group is like. It's just like raw, lots of. I love it. We keep it real here at Game On Daily. And Shabs Inevitable, thank you for the £5 super chat. Just want to say I love you guys. Keep up the great work. Hit the like button. Yes, thank you for reminding me. And Shabs, shout out to you for being such a supporter for such a long time. One of the OGs. Christopher Jones, thank you for the £1.79 super chat. If each panel member was a Teletubby, who's who? They're the same, just different colors. Apart from that yellow one, that guy was weird. He was
I'm the purple one with the little purse. Yeah, that's the one that I am. That show's creepy,
who would Hargeet
man.
be as a Teletubby?
Sorry, I don't even know what the hell a Teletubby.
Okay, let's just talk about
I'm not bringing up a trailer for Teletubbies. I'm with you, Hargeet. I don't know any of these.
Oh my gosh, I know some names. Tinky Winky Dipsy Lala.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Someone on the internet did this really weird, like, Teletubbies are evil kind of video, and it made sense. They're pretty bad. But yeah, okay, thanks for that super chat. But yeah, don't worry about it. You're lucky you haven't.
I've lost all respect for the chat for all of you who know these names.
How could you not know the names? They're just everywhere. But sorry, bring it back to PlayStation invest big in Epic Games. I think it's a very clever move. Is it possible, Colt, that by Okay, I actually think it's possible. You tell me this is it. By Epic and Sony being so buddy together and making love and like this with money changing hands, you're getting a scenario where Epic Game Unreal Engine 5 is going to be so dominant in this generation. You might have a very favorable outlook in terms of performance for games because they're getting better support. Didn't we already see this happen with what's that Epic guy? Tim Sweeney? I'm really terrible. Tim Sweeney with names. Yeah. And he was talking about PlayStation. It was only possible, I think, with PlayStation, the Unreal Engine 5, and they had a deal going on there. There's a stake there. Is it possible that that's an extension? They're gonna. I don't trust Tim Sweeney. I'm sorry, but
what he already said. Dealer and I covered this on RDX last week about how he already said that Nanites and Lumens demo could run on an Xbox Series S and X, and there wasn't any special, SSD that made it only possible on the PlayStation 5. And I think this Epic deal is mainly for Sony Pictures to use in movies, which is a really good investment because Unreal Engine 5 for VFX is really a big deal. They're using it in real time in Mandalorian. So that's a really good investment. And also here's Zocker87. Shout out to Zocker, the guy with the biggest, greatest eyebrows. He said, him and I were saying that we think that they're partnering with Epic so they can get a better share into bringing their games day and date on PC through the Epic Game Store instead of using Steam and losing a cut. Yeah. If they get like a profit sharing or some sort of deal where they could, I don't know how the business works on that stuff, but if they get into where they can get a better deal and their games can go to Epic Game Store and they're pulling a little bit more money than they would if they went over to Steam where it's really big, they could help grow Epic. It'd be a symbiotic relationship where both could grow, and then that PC thing could explode the PlayStation platform for PlayStation Studios.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Fonz, get lefty.
Fonz, thank you so much for the $2 super chickens. Thanks, GameOnDaily, for not botting. I don't want to make it like masquerade as with this righteousness, but there's some big not big. There's some people who like to talk big and then they do that. Not good, but it's up to you if you want to do that. Danny Passionate Fish, thank you so much for the $2 super chickens. Love this channel, guys. More Source videos, please. It's been over a month since I did the last Source video, and I'm sorry. It's Ramadan plus of my health conditions, but I'm gonna be filming something tomorrow, and I've got some stuff to bring in the Sourceverse. That's right. Get used to that word, the Sourceverse. That's where the Source is going next. I want to take get your thoughts on Epic and Sony investing big into Epic Games. What does it mean for PlayStation and in the console space? Hargeet.
Okay, so there's also other things going on, right? This is a private company, and for some reason they keep getting investment rounds. I think about 40% of them is Tencent. And that's been causing them some headaches. And there's actually an issue going on with, I think it's the FTC looking into Tencent with Epic, and there's one other gaming company where they're pushing certain agendas and they don't like it, and they're trying to work out what they're allowed to and not allowed to do. So this could actually just be something totally different like that, where Tim Sweeney's going out and saying, maybe I need to have other people have a larger stake. Now, it's not going to be like Tencent. Tencent still has a huge chunk. Surprisingly, Microsoft hasn't done any investment in here, which may be that they just want to stay hands off to not appear to have any monopolistic anything here. As far as the Tim Sweeney thing with the original UE5 demo, understand that Microsoft was way behind in getting out dev kits, in getting out a development environment to actually allow them to use UE5, and they needed Coalition's help to even get that Matrix demo out the door. So I think that was just they were able to get it working on the PS5 first. So that was probably more what that was than it was, hey, it can only be done on the PS5. I think it's just they didn't have the ability to make it yet for the Series S and X. So I don't know if Tim Sweeney's really in the bag on Sony's side or anything like that, but they are part owned by them, right? So it could just literally be, hey, it's a good investment, and we think this company is going to continue keep making money, and at some point they will go public, and it's a pretty big, game publisher with Fortnite, one of the biggest games out there. So it may just be an investment that they're just looking to, hey, let's keep the gaming industry going. While we're at it, we're just going to make money, right? So that could be another part of this. So they're in private, rounds right now, which is interesting. They certainly make profit. So I don't know why they need to keep getting investment, but they do. And I think it might have more to do with that Tencent part of it that's interesting right now. And we'll see where that ends up, right? That I don't know if it's a suit or if it's just they're looking at it. They don't like what's happening with an American company being pushed by Tencent. Well, actually, the Chinese government. So I don't know where that all is going, but that's kind of one of the things to keep in mind as well. Because it was also, what was it? There was another company that also invested. Was it Hasbro or Lego or something?
It is Kirkby.
Who own Lego? Yeah, they do.
Lego, right. Lego. Yeah. So I think that's what it is. It's really they're just trying to grow their thing so that the share count for Tencent goes down a bit, so they have less influence. But right now they have a big amount of influence, and that's probably causing them some headaches. So.
Just like it being Sony, like I said, it's really people that are worried that this might mean there's some Sony bias in the engine or anything like that. That's well off the mark. It's not going to be the case. It's going to be performant just fine on all of the Xboxes. I mean, one of the big deals of this engine is they want it to scale right down to mobile phones. So they're not giving Sony special treatment in that sense. So, as Colt mentioned, Zorka was talking about the Epic Game Store. If this was about getting Sony games on the Epic Game Store, the money would have gone the other way. That would be in Epic's interest, not Sony's. Because Epic are paying out a lot for games to go on their store, and Sony do work with them. We know that the Final Fantasy remake went there. That's not Sony directly, but we know that Epic are buying everything they can, and Sony have games going to PC. We know that they could work with Epic, but Epic would have to pay Sony to keep those games off of Steam, not the other way around, not by any stretch. Because Steam is where everything goes on PC. But
dang, that's the first time I've been wrong. Thank you, Asa.
And as far as like the UE5, it's open source, so the code's available. If somebody were playing anything weird, Coalition would pretty fast figure that out, right? So I don't think that's even realistic.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add some sauce there, but thanks for shitting on my sauce. No, it's interesting. This is like even in the news is shit this week. Yet there's still some big moves happening in this space. It's quite interesting to see what's happening. Now, everyone, we have talked about everything on all our topics. But I have to finally ask you, especially Cole, you're on the forefront of YouTube. YouTube is a shit place. It takes so long. My viewership is shit. We have to work hard. And when is the big news happening, bro? I know you know things. I know you talk to things. You dealer, especially, that you know stuff. And Rand, the big boys. Give us something. When is something big happening with Xbox show next June?
I mean, I've put a lot of thought in this. Dealer and I've been talking about Dealer where are the games, right? And Hargeet and I were talking about this pre-show about how people are fighting about who has the most games in the year. And when you just take a step back and look, and if you look at the calendar year, they all have the same amount of games. Even Xbox and PlayStation, they'll have 4 or 5 big games in 2022. But it's just we were laughing so hard, weren't we, Hargeet? Where it was Xbox is going to have September to December is going to be crammed full of exclusives. And then PlayStation had 3 big games at the beginning of the year, and then they have a third party Forspoken, right? So we really came to the fact that everyone argues about right now. What do I have right now? Well, you just had Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon a couple months ago. But I don't have anything right now to fight the list war. And we were having a good laugh about that. So that's basically what's going on. Xbox didn't have anything for the first part of the year because Stalker got delayed, and then they are totally zip closed for the mouth. They don't want to talk about anything because they want all that thunder for the June 13th showcase. I think that's the day we can expect it. Hold on, let me flip my calendar here. 12th. June 12th is probably that's about when they do it, the second Sunday of June. So I would expect we'll get an announcement in like a month or so when they say, our big showcase with our Xbox Game Studios is on June 12th on Sunday.
Yep.
And then we won't hear anything until then. So
Yeah. Okay,
shout out to
well,
274 people who are really here watching the show.
like that. Shabs Inevitable. Thank you so much. 1 for the super chat, and 2 for dropping the code. So whoever gets Metro Exodus Enhanced Steam Edition, unless Asa, he's quick on the hands, hasn't gypped that already.
I'm waiting for the latest Tiny Tina. I'm like, right, Hargeet argued with me. I'm going to claim a game. That will teach him. He's going to pay for my Tiny Tina. He's not dropped it yet.
Sounded dirty. Hit the like button, everybody. Like we're kicking butt here in the show. I think these guys do an amazing show. So hit the like button. We've had a lot of people here. So if you're having fun, show your support. Hit that sucker.
No, thank you for saying that. Thank you. And we're actually going to wrap it up. This is it. This has been a great show. Very off kilter. Asa and Hargeet Argue has been my highlight. Usually it's me and Asa, but thank you. I got a teammate in this. This is how we go, Hargeet. It's family. We're always gonna do this, and I love that. This isn't the shill podcast. Before we go, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to Dean. I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, Hargeet, you are a star. I
am?
I love it. Yes, you are. You are a diamond gazer, as we say here in the UK. It was great to have you two consecutively back to back. One day I can hand over the reins to you as I just snort sauce and make videos. But this is what this is testing, and it's great. But Hargeet, I hope you had a good time. It's weird saying that you're part of the team, so it's like, but tell our viewers what's coming next from Hargeet, because Hargeet's working on the video as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the various paths in the future as far as what's happening in the gaming industry. So that's going to be the next major video. So hopefully we'll get that going sometime this week. But yeah, so we'll have that hopefully up shortly. So that's the next big video. There's other things coming though. We'll get the other ones going as well.
Absolutely. You can't find Hargeet on social media because we have consolidated his online existence. He exists only here on GameOnDaily. But please do check out. I forgot this last time. Pasha, I need to give you a Cyberpunk key because that's the game he wanted. I'm going to pick a winner. I'm going to do that live. There's no bias. Someone said I gave it to Harry Go Lucky from Gamers Podcast 2 weeks ago. Asa picked the winner because it was the best comment. And someone had a shit fit and said, but he's been in a Source video. I never met the guy, but he's part of our community. We run a content creative bloody website. We can give the prize to anyone you want. That was based on merit. But before we do that,
I'm calling the FCC.
Colt. It was always lovely having you on the show. You're part of the Source family as well, wearing the gear and everyone. Ultimately, let's be honest, we're all part of the same family. Me, you, Fons, Dealer, the daddy, and Zorka. Everyone is part of that.
Rand.
That's why we're
even Rand.
Rand is finally, when he does make a video in 2027. Shout out to Rand. Honestly. It's great. Your sport is great. You're just like, part of the family. But what's in store for the Colt fans?
I'm going to do the show on Monday for Excellency Podcast. I've got Gaz and Hogue Law, and we're going to talk about his change of perception of what's going on, and he's going to shed some light on what's going on with the Activision Blizzard deal and where it's sitting. Plus, we'll cover some of the other news that pops up. But I don't know. As far as videos, I don't know what I'm going to make. Like I said, if you want to, we talked quite a bit about Halo, but check out that video. It's about 10, 11 minutes and some good ideas in there. It'll be interesting to see how that thing shakes out. But I haven't really been playing Halo Infinite, until they get some new content. So, but yeah, I really appreciate it. Pixel Slapper wants me to do a guitar challenge with him. But yeah, check it out. It's been a good time. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. It's good to be here with Hargeet. I have to get Hargeet on X and C and maybe start an argument with him and see what happens.
I just see Asa, you just get red faced there. I know what you're like, Asa. You're a lovely person, and I like your strong.
I can't tell you how many times I've been on this show, because today was another where I thought I knew what was going on, and Asa's like, "No, Colt, no."
That's why we love you, Asa.
I love it.
Asa, I love it. I just think the way you do. Love it. Is that Tim Dog impression? No. Asa.
Gotta have DVDs on lock.
We need to get Tim Dog. When he gets a camera, we need to get him on the show. But Asa, what's in store for your viewers and your, I say fans is a weird way to say, but people follow you?
I don't know, actually, because it's the holidays at the moment, so kids are running around, which restricts what I do a little bit. I should still be streaming Tuesday and Thursday, hopefully Wednesday. So check my Twitch channel, and there'll be things happening, and it'll be great fun. And thanks everyone for coming by, Colt and Hargeet, and the argument. It's all love. It's fine. We get along.
Yes, exactly.
Disagreement's a part of it. Why would we all chat and say the same thing? It would be boring, right? So.
Yep.
Exactly.
So thanks everyone for coming by and witnessing.
Yeah. And the winner, I've just picked this comment. This is a good comment, and it's a comment from Siki, Ciki. You've won a game code of your choice. Please reach out to me on GameOnDaily. I'm just going to reach out there and on social medias. But he says he's the winning comment, and this is on Halo. So I didn't actually get to touch upon this because I don't want to shit on Halo again. But Halo Infinite's player counts have fallen below Halo Master Chief Collection on PC, which I think is quite sad, but others will think that's the best thing for Halo Infinite. But no, I'm just kidding, Zing. I see you, other Zing, crazy person. But Ziki says Halo Infinite is definitely more fun to play than Master Chief Collection, but it just proves that if players don't get rewarded, they will leave no matter how fun the gameplay is. How can you screw up progression and live service aspect? The example of best progression, Apex Legends. I only just saw that bit. Now it's in brackets. And live service, Fortnite were right there. You've got workable examples in the space. That's why it makes it really head scratching that 343 did it, but they're learning. It was hot off the coals. They've struggled, but in the long term, remember I'm saying this, Halo Infinite will be fine. It will be fine, irrespective of the fact that it's lost its momentum day one, but it'll do exactly what the Master Chief Collection
They're just
did.
behind. I said the same thing. I think it's going to be really great. It's just too bad you have to wait, but it'll be good.
Yeah,
and put the reins on your boy Dealer in the chat. He goes, look, the show's closing. There's still people in the chat.
Oh man, that's crazy. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I will bring the source to you, and I promise I will work even harder to at least try and do one source video every week, because I have something very ambitious in my mind. So please bear that in mind. But thank you so much in the chat. Thank you, everyone. Smash the like button if you did enjoy it. If you didn't enjoy, hit the dislike button. It's up to you. That's all. It's all up to you. Enjoy it. We'll see you next week on Go Live. Please. Thank you. Take care. Peace.